Hello everybody, I wanted to make a quick video to cover three things. Number one, just updating on whether there'll be any more Vicky 3 content on the channel in the near future. Number two, I wanted to tell you about this very cool post on the Paradox forums, which is really long, but don't worry, I'm not going to read through all of it, which you should go and read, because it's really interesting and well written. And second, to talk about some of the responses from the Paradox devs to the thread. So first off, I'm very unlikely to play any Victoria 3 on the channel in the near future. And I don't like being massively negative, but I just wanted to put that out there. And this seemed like a good excuse to put that at the beginning of a video that had another reason for you to watch it. But yeah, I'm probably not going to play any more Vicky 3 on camera or off camera in the immediate future. I think there are fun ways to play it. And there are fun things to be done in it, but the game will be a lot better, I expect, in a couple of months. And in various ways now, it's bad in terms of how the UI design has been done, is the main problem. And this is an extremely good breakdown on many of the issues that the game faces. So the link is going to be in the description of the video. You should go and watch it. It's really good. Sorry, watch it. Go and read it. It's really good. As you can see here, the title is the User Inter-fiasco, Victoria 3's Abysmal UI. And it goes through it all and it has examples. And this is something I've talked about a lot, the alert system and things like that. But yeah, it's worth reading. You should go read it. But let's look at the way Paradox responded. And I want to, before we look at that, I want to point out you shouldn't, like even this really well-written essay, I think was a little bit harsh. There's no need to communicate in this harsher terms. And this guy, you know, credit to him, very good writer. This is really good, really interesting, really well thought out. Could have phrased it a little bit nicer. And you shouldn't be mean to, I mean, you know, here's a Christo rule for life. Try to not be unpleasant to people, like, period. Whether they're Paradox developers or otherwise. Anyway, that said, here's how Johan replied to the idea that PDX with EU4 and CK have shown that they can make functional UIs at a glance. You can understand what's going on. So how would I interpret that statement? I would take that to mean clearly a framework exists, a good framework exists, which means, you know, this company is capable of building a good UI. And they're also capable of knowing what a good UI is. They're capable of saying, like, okay, we want to create a good UI. What do we look at? Well, you got EU4 and CK2. And I agree, those two have very good UIs. EU4, in my opinion, dramatically better than CK2's. And it's also trying to accomplish a much harder task. So it's more impressive that it's better. But yeah, you know, there is a baseline from which they can work. There is talent within the company that knows how these things are done, stuff like that. How Johan took it, Paradox is not a hive mind where knowledge and opinions are perfectly harmonized, especially considering we do not now have about 7 different studios in 4 different cities across Europe working on the grand strategy games. This is true, of course, but you can, like, email each other. And EU4 and CK2 and Victoria 3 are all developed in Stockholm, so I'm not sure what the cities across Europe thing has to do with anything, but I just thought that was funny because Johan often has some I mean, it's meant to be a cutting remark, but I think it's quite a funny remark from Johan. I reiterate, and I hope that's not too mean of me to say about Johan, but don't be mean to Johan or Wiz about any of this or anyone else, because there's no point. And it's cruel and unkind, and you shouldn't. But yeah, so Wiz has a bigger response, and I think one of the really interesting things about this is this bit. He says that for the much of the development process, their strategy was just to do what CK3 did, because CK3 is repeatedly brought up as the pinnacle of grand strategy UI on Paradox. I don't know who has been bringing that up. I want to talk to them. CK3 has a very bad UI compared to CK2 and EU4. And of course, you know, all of these comments you have to take in the context of Paradox, right? So yes, I think CK3 has a much worse UI than CK2 or EU4. That said, it's better than the UI of any game not made by Paradox. Just straight up. Easy. That's not complicated. I'm happy to, I'll stand by that. But who's been telling Wiz that CK3 is great? And why did Wiz think copying CK3, a game all about narrative and story and characters, and you really care about what's going on with your character, and, you know, all the country and stuff like that all comes second. It's your character and your narrative, your story, and how your rivals and all that stuff. That's how CK3 works, right? the idea that a UI designed for that would work for a game played across a much shorter time frame with a huge market focus, a huge production focus, is just, I mean, it's an apocalyptically bad idea to just do whatever CK3 does. So I'm not surprised with how Victoria 3 came out if that was a big part of the design philosophy, because they're two. I mean, you know, again, this is all within the context of Paradox games. In the context of like all games, of course, CK3 and Victoria 3 are quite similar. But in the context of Paradox games, they're at opposite ends of the spectrum. So it's mind-blowing to me that you would just use what CK3 does in terms of UI. Like that's a terrible idea. Like obviously, I mean, well, clearly not obviously, but I think obviously it's a terrible, terrible idea. So he talks about lots of things in here, which is good. And various of these things, he's recognizing errors in the UI, and he's talking about ways in which they're going to improve, which is awesome, and that's obviously really great to see. But look at this right at the end. Not there. Where is it? Okay, all I can say is we're aware of it. No, sorry, that's not the line. There was a particular line that made me make this video. Yes, here it is. I think perhaps the lesson for us here is that we should neither be trying to copy CK3 nor do whatever the older games did, but try and find new solutions that allow us to deal with the challenge of the sheer volume of information we need to convey to the player in Victoria 3. No. That's not the takeaway. So, here's what they've tried so far. And again, I feel the need to keep saying this because I'm very conscious that these are smart, nice people who are much better at making video games than I am. And obviously, yeah, I mean, Wiz has made a really good. I like Victoria 3. There's things to like about it for sure. But this is the wrong thing to take away from the situation. What have you tried so far? You've tried making it like CK3. That didn't work. So instead, let's make it not like whatever the older games did, but find new solutions. No, just copy the better older games. Which, yes, of course, is just my bias, because I think EU4 and CK3 were much better. But things like that, there's stuff that Victoria 3 currently conveys to you via pop-ups that Victoria 2 conveyed just by a thing in the top left, telling you giving you the situation in your country. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. You know, tap into this hive mind, which doesn't exist. So one other thing on this. This is a bit of a self-report, in my opinion. If you're an organization, you should have robust internal documentation on loads of things. Sometimes it's called a center of excellence, where you share information, you share learning and knowledge and things like that within the organization, so that there is a hive mind to an extent. They're not really a hive mind, but a library of knowledge that new employees or employees at different studios can tap into. Different studios, different departments, whatever. There should be a big repository of knowledge about, here are all the UI learnings from CK3, here are all the big UI learnings from EU4. That's something that, if it doesn't already exist, create it. Like, that's a really valuable tool. And that's the kind of thing that you should be able to tap into here. So for example, Wiz is trying to figure out, how do you present information in Victoria 3? We're really struggling. And the ideas are in this order: do what CK2 did, invent new things. You haven't tried E4 or CK2 or Victoria 2, the previous game. I mean, of course they will have tried it to a certain extent, but anyway, I just thought this, I think this is a really good, not firstly, because I'm saying it at the end. This is a really good reply. Like, I'm really glad. I was on Reddit saying, like, the devs are not going to reply to this thread because it's too aggressive. I'm really glad Wiz did reply in a very, calm, sensible way with lots of really good points made. But this is kind of mind-blowing to me that they copied CK3, which, I mean, I have videos on this subject. CK3 has is a good game with quite bad UI, and the new idea is just invent new stuff. You know the pop-ups in EU4? The little drop-downs that come in the top left? They're different colors, they have different icons, they tell you different things. They're the best piece of UI design that mankind has thus far made. Just use those. Anyway, that's how I'll end it. Anyway, speaking of good UI design and stuff, I'm going to go and play spreadsheets in space in the world of Aurora 4X. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Don't go and be mean to Paradox. And hopefully this wasn't too mean to Paradox. Thank you. Goodbye.